I mention near before. First of all, me nkase obi elko ewonukruma our direct effect on us. But then the president, what he seeks to say, and I said, Professor Chen said, Ghana is a global player among the community of nations of the world. And the world, it thrives on basically economy, every country beyond oil. And I said, fuel, and the biggest deal across the world. I think is the most first leading businesses, and I said most first leading commodity the whole world needs at any given time. Unfortunately, in your country, beyond we are here, oil nibi. And usually the countries of the world with more oil are almost supply the greater part. And I said the 8 billion people on earth, very few countries. One of the biggest players in Iran. And this Iran, the supply, then the contribution to the world oil market, it's a problem. Or one, obedical freezy production of the oil. And two, obey reducing the supply as also a means also feel very important. Well, Iran, the oil produces or use or talk about 85% of the oil. In this or Kuntokanas who decided not to send, and also diverting attention on a different sector, whereas the defense and the security in a year. Of course, the world markets, of the oil, you always look at the happenings in any of the country or Kuntoka. And it is a president in Kaka or no come and as he said, say, it be a prudent analysis. Not time be a better oil be a mono. The next thing I bet to Mukrumha, car prices, your friends say, trotro any car face. In your two face, ma, the next thing tear duane. In your two face, ma, Ubia Auton at your market, I said the Auton in Tadia Crown, or say a two petrol non swatching because car fortune. The president, I think, cleverly quoted said, at any given time, there's a shock of prices on the oil. That's a wouldn't need any better approach to deal with the oil sector. It is commonly a possible say, economy. We are about to hit an inflation, especially countries say, oil, you're tuning in article. Baku Krenua 1% you processed it, say a ton of Kuma. But that is not the case of most of the other countries who produce oil. Only not produce ton, but Iran will produce ton, but will just be money crum for. Nicaragua will produce ton, will just be money crum for. Canada will produce, but will just be money crum for. Countries who produce oil, Saudi Arabia, money, Iran, your friend is there, Qatar, Kuwait, and Emirates. Omunina produce oil now. Omujabi mo mukrumu for Timi tono at a very good rate. Name of young African in mostly Nigeria, Angola, Ghana, Guinea Equatorial, and some other African countries are you two oil no. Yatoni na ko. And sunny any sapis kako. And the president who says Sekobase oil boy ding international marketer. Say, but maybe say, I didn't instead, now president, on some started say no, yes, your production, you trust you be processing in your tone in case it be basa, you shocks, but rather than all the time, say price of oil cost right. Now, boy, why are we also not thinking about that? In this, yes, Israel and one Arab nations air kontoka and now wasa koka Iran elsewhere or nene kontoka, which is a Persian. And let us not get it wrong. Say Iran on the Arab Middle East, on the Arab world, Iran only belong to the Persian Peninsula, and the peninsula for wakoka Iran, which of course is not an Arab state, but it is seen say a pro-Islam country and as a pro-Islam nation, and the one would identify say Arabian, but open peninsula.
Do you see this ending anytime soon? Or we could be say then a coffee as I do we buy.
Okay. Our history. The history is very simple. One say Israel as a country. Israel Pentokwa. And Israel as a country. No. Israel, your parties be a Omuba, the Omudiye, especially with the Arabs. And no more prime ministers and the 18 stay power for long. And to one, I'm not in doubt. And two, it is not of a surprise. But the reality of the matter is that Israel war with the Arab countries in yes, our Israel, the first Arab country on the Egypt. The second country on the Jordan. The border, Egyptian border, Syria, border. On Kontoka. Now, I heard said, almost 1967, exactly 58 years in year one. And years Sadiano. Or you June. The same June, yeah, you will be 5th June to the 10th June. And a near friend, the Arab-Israeli war. Or countries three, a boom. She said, oh, yeah. Arab Egypt, Arab Jordan, and Arab Syria. On 6 days. Or said these three countries, aircraft Maku 450. Abu Young country. 450 aircraft packed on the airports of all these countries. And One Egypt, a war no 1973. On Egypt so bekonsa and of finally yebinya the Oslo Accord. Oslo Accord no the US president near French Jimmy Carter 78 only the only American president one kontokwa obedia our year na jinso so kontokwa as American president the adebo ma beti friend streamers only the one decided to pay be it me ma Oslo Accord no and they solve Israel and Palestine. Yes, Israel and Egypt in 1979. Almost started accord in 79 and almost start peace treaty. That time, no, there Israel almost Prime Minister Menachem and Egypt also see your friend is like Anwar Sadat and Jimmy Carter. Yes, peace. From here, Israel said, or started to obey part of Jordan. Do you know any Jordan? But let us not forget, say Jordan, King Hussein no a British, more or less, not the family. Omina no me a British. King Hussein of Jordan, the Banuko house is Omina, you are British. And Chadi British for the American for Omujini issue. Name in recent time, last year, 2024. Which was exactly 48 years in Tibet raid. They can't Tibet raider. And no, Israeli, Palestine, Omuntokwa, Koba, German phobia, now your friend Wilfred Boze, and a Kuman, and the Palestine phobia, Omko hijack Air France plane, and Eko Paris, Omko see Uganda. Nazoba Kaya, Sa in Tibet raiding, Nipa 103, say we are before the Uyano. Na the leading that in Tibet region, Shak your friends then Benjamin Netanyahu, we are the brother, and was only the commander head of the commandos on Unkwan year. Until last year, or celebrating or celebrating a brother no 48 years no. I don't know what they started Hamas. Out of the kidnap, no say Hamas for kidnap Israelis, so of course. And then I know kidnap, kidnap. But that was what or no this celebrity or call Uganda or buy a nan or best artist and to con. That are kidnap not take place that. And or they are start a concert. But let us not forget, say, in the history of Israel, since David Ben-Gurion, Likud Party, Makai Party, any other parties, one Israel, Labour Party, Labour for Nobody will be on Kontokwa. Labour for Nba. They don't fight.
Yeah.
They make peace. Is the Labour around Sharon, your friend Shimon Peres, Ishaq Rabin. Omu peace na omu ye. Na omu ne your friends yes Arafat. Any Rabin no. And no ma the small boy 25-year-old Yigalamia. Nibukofu ya or say for signing to allow Palestine to be a country. Nyango two-state solutions, you know. And a law student, Omutimiya boy near day, Okukum Rabin. Okum Rabin around Sharon President Shimon Peres by a free Labour Party for Nina Obiaba on Kontoka. Name from after the death of Sharon. Osha Oma Mabaye Arian Sharon Sabi and say nobody stay power. Now the history of Israel, maybe Netanyahu and the prime minister were about 3 times.
Yeah.
Shimon Peres.
That means the oil no because ansan no beba ne term Ukraine no na ekofo ejidi se the AC no ebesi ampa oba AC that means be Israel for no so no money je ho.
It is neither here nor there. There are 2 things to look at Israel. And then you come Ishaq Rabin. I was in the city that November 4th, 1995. I was in Tel Aviv. I can ask where baby Omukono. I was in Tel Aviv. This is what they do. Omono Omusa, the size of Israel, and they say Ufri Accra, Eko Achide, what tells you Kakra is only the north, the north near 250 kilometers, and at the west to east, actually 90 kilometers. So imagine such a small place. And he said, a compass and Tokwane Badia. Then all of them, because their security is at risk. And in the bunker, you need your MAPA party member, you need your Labour member, and you need their Likud party member, and you need their Yamina party member. And the population is studying, Look at the population of Israel, Israelis in Israel. Own population outside the world is 2 times, 3 times bigger, like the same thing like Palestine. Bigger outside than Israel. And Toma Yoma say no. And Tokwa Akon, the world wars near Dadinema, Ukraine, if you free mu. And we be America, be Italy, be France, Switzerland, all over, Oko Argentina, Omugua, Brazil, baby. And Tomu Donetiska, and the man who is the strong man. Omuketi. The atmosphere, who is the strongest? Debian obey defending the land Israel. Knowing very well, say the land near Kakrebi. Knowing very well, say they are surrounded by Arabs. Knowing very well, say that if Arabs coordinate together at Iran, can say obey wipe Israel from the map of the Arabian Peninsula, and for that matter, the Middle East. And also for Mahmoud say, even though so Omon Peno. I said before, say Bibi Netanyahu back on the 3rd time, he was due to go to jail. He was due to go to jail. No case or corruption case. Now it was almost at the end. Now I said, Yadini. But instead, I come back and we're a coalition. And we're a coalition, the only way and you go through we're a coalition government with the Likud party. The next thing I saw and said, and that's what started say, obey creative insecurity. And then in the history of Israel, anytime and they don't change their prime minister. But what are they saying?
Sure.
Whenever they are fighting, they don't touch the prime minister. Whenever they are fighting, they don't go into elections. Whenever they are fighting, they don't touch any dial apart from concentrating to fight. And that is the catch. One day Hamas and talk when I start here, and then SSS now be to Iran. Because Hamas is the only organization Iran in a support to yes, and send Qatar and some of the Arabian Peninsula need to support them. But you must say, why not Hamas? Hamas no Israel for any America for not Hamas. Israel any America for any Hamas in 1987. At that time no na PLO Arafat no wa form the PLO Palestinian Liberation of since 1964. But 1964, Now Israel and America for cutting Hamas say they should not allow Yasser Arafat to progress and make sure say Obeka Palestine for no good. Look at the interesting dynamics. In Palestinian APLU, Yasser Arafat and Ankasa, only Hamas for we see ever coin. Why Israelis were supporting Hamas? Why Americans were supporting Hamas? You would say, Omuto Kwabaye. She tunnels are a good assassination of Palestine.
Yeah.
Hamas won only then the two tunnels. Everybody umpire. Everybody Israelis who say tunnels was here. Way back. Only two tunnels. How many Iran for Kunyan? Your friend say Jordan Kunyan. No more tunnels. No. And the Hamas was supporting them to fight with the other Arab countries. But when the table turned around, even before the death of Yasser Arafat, Hamas were fighting. The country Palestine was even divided into two. Yasser Arafat, they expected say, Ombe surrender, and Arab for China around there, Hamas for say, Palestinian authority, they want to be a leadership and have their country. And then when Israel for Entokwa start here, kidnapping, killing, Omako. But the reality is that Israel, on Hamas or Kondia, we see say on Hezbollah, Lebanon and Eko. Who say on Iran and Eko. But Argentina, the country Qatar, I will be able to use a Qatar or supporting these organizations. I don't know how the Israel on Coco because Qatar to say American hood.
Okay. All right, Alaji, finally, my misa this na fe yemfinsi. Attacks na airco ni nyina attacks na a free Israel airco no. Omo attack nuclear site, omo attack scientists, military leaders. Special reason be ohontia Emma sa installments and omo attack.
Okay, this is not the first time. In 1988, 1989, 90. Now Libya, or the same nuclear project, our Misrata. Or we are underground, and of course, nuclear sites in Iran will be underground. Abroad, Israel will be, America will be, France will be, UK will be, America, our Nidia. Are you getting me? Israel, for India, Palestine, and Libya here, Nidia, way back. Now Iran starting the program. Or you do 84%, or you do first one, or do almost about 75%. Underground basement, Adiachiano, no Israelis are best shit. Abra any military fight, be only Libya for any military fight there. Only to be by underground, but share at Israeli fight. 89, 1991, the same thing, Obashe, Gaddafi give you. And I know the Gaddafi or Bufu, Egypt said. Now almost smuggle Israelis, Alpha Egypt, and because maybe our Musrata and Egypt were more than never. They were using Egyptian Arabs, and no be a Juma or Libyan site anymore, and a Libya stadium. Now, I then what targeted scientists, Iranian scientists, a nuclear scientists, and build the project. And when you say, baby, woman, a drone, Israelis, Iranian scientists, also share the America. Nuclear science in America, and be Russia, and Oma should do technology enhancement, advancement in the account, and Oma be a top class nuclear scientist. Until they know, say, they're in that country. Now, Osha, the head of the Revolutionary Guard, are only the top security commander of the nation Iran, Republic of Iran. Shamabia on that. Never apartment. Omutimipo crash here, or military commanders, Shakwa Fafwa, Omutimikunkum. Within a matter, says Ratimako Iran airspace. It is not an easy joke because it's the size of army, ASA, the population ASA, and in equipment, of course, initially America thought to him, but then Trump contradicted himself. He had the knowledge of it. But they didn't support. What does it mean? Meaning that Israel, all the times America or Caribbean America on ya. When it becomes bigger, they don't have that kind of And Yama meeting the army, even the troop, America. Yeah. And before Israel, that directly, indirectly, no, because they are a unilateral decision. The United Nations, Israel does not respect UN. Israel does not respect the European Union. Neither do they respect any organization in the world. But flamboyantly, they are also a member of the UN. But the things in DNA what take care, Israel, UN for catches for Njaya. So even one would ask, what is even the essence of the UN? Because UN or countries are. So Ghana and acquire Saudi we are and sanctions. But look at Nyama Israel fire. The higher sanction are other European countries because of their Israel or any diplomatic sanctions or is it arms. But which European country no produce weapons in Israel? Holland no, Germany no, Italy no, Turkey no, Czech Republic. These are countries who produce weapons. Why not supply Israel? And the idea won't supply no. And they say what I say me my body and a bunch and call the north. Who cares? Because the beer for phone you even though it's the other way around, they like for phone. But who cares? And the same thing. And the Israelis also said the other country to say Israel, Iran. The sanctions America for the other part of European countries, the Ama woman for the past Trump time. Sanctions don't demand the permanent 20 Maumubi, Ubia Maumubi. I didn't in Israel the oil. Or about 6 months, more than 60,000 Palestinians and hospitals, everything. Now, we are in sanction. Only Lebanon, only Hamas for Kumu. While there was a peace, it was in process. Our more discussed ceasefire and what it is, Southern Lebanon. Hezbollah, Hezbollah or border. As now, Tlako about 50 kilometers inside, deep inside Lebanon, after this Roman infrastructure in her. And then was Musa Assad was a problem. So Assad called Janin Wakwa. She said the regime of Israel, where we were Syria. The Golan Heights not already not a year a height in a problem was said deep inside Syria and destroyed Damascus. And it is just only said, were you Egypt free and were you Jordan free? But then the countries are Lebanon, Syria, and Iran are becoming. And nobody seems to. Because the destruction are all here. So, any of the nuclear. Already, we say, my building, they are only about 15% to complete. It means that there's a nuclear reactor, there's a nuclear reactions that could take place. And it says, say, now was starting destroy reactors. So, almost one a war bunker very deep, fortified. Israel for new weapon. Weapon cannot go into that side. But when go use ICBM, of course, our surface, and they were able to destroy it. Minimum, they almost are fortified underground. Who tempted so there will be a nuclear.
Okay.
If there's a nuclear eruption, everything affects other part of the world, and even the same Israeli peninsula. How long normally nose mask and oxygen versus nose? I go to bunker. And that thing said, Israeli, the world needs peace, but what Israel is doing, it is a bit outrageous.
Okay, but, so question, no say. And anytime soon. Now, why one bit me, because now you are saying, say, because of say Israel for Munim said the highest power US Tainachi, it will on fire United Nations here. So it one bit me, I'll stop this war.
You can go on peace table, on peace treaty, on signing this, signing that, it will not end anywhere. What you should be looking out for, and that's what we should be doing. Iran. As some of us and some of you and most people have caught, say, the strength of Iran military, and then it has taken everybody of the world by surprise. Iran to meet a guide. Israel Timaba, the airspace. Certainly, they have spoken. The Iranian government, the king, they are all saying there. Israel will pay for the price. Of course, and your first time I had to such speeches, but what I said, Iran can go for toe-to-toe confrontation with Israel. That is where Americans will draw into the picture. And what I think is that the strategy is that Iran makes an attempt So Americans don't say involved, but when Iran takes arms, so of Israel they will come. What does it mean? So indirectly, Americans Israeli against Iran. Say Iran for now America and Israel will end up destroying Iran.
Okay, but we just a development by Donald Trump talking about say and kana Israel for person more assassinate leader Ayatollah Ali and Donald Trump abeka be and yes so you think anything ma says because leader no near person assassinating it there then it will be very difficult to resolve this issue.
It's one thing that you should not forget, sir. Israel anytime any country be a fighting the leader not targeting Shawani Hamas they were almost to conclude the issue of this impasse. And Okokum, Hamas leader, or the same Iran. They were discussing with Hezbollah and Okokum Hezbollah leader. So of course, Sir Opeka say Okum, Iran, Omo, make fine say Obit the Americans as a Ghana, Americans as Sabi, Ebia, Atlantic Kingdom. Because the Iranian kingdom or Nihini. And it's also become the head and the chief and the king of that country there, then it is a declaration of a very serious crisis to come. But for me, Americans, of course, they will play around it. But all what they are seeking to do, and he said, Israel is also near America. Also, what Iranians are pro-Americans, are against the Iranian maybe communist system. And all the time, that is what takes place. They said, Afghanistan, they try to install a government that will be in bed with them. And that is what one said. If they will target to kill it only just suggests they have persons and individuals trained by the Americans, by the Israelis, anti also Iranian government and now pro-Iranian, and it's always has been the case. The same case like Iraq, the same thing. Because you don't know where American support and where Israel would support. You share Iran, any Iraq war. Then America supported Saddam Hussein, any Iran, no way they turn against. It's always what they begin and what you want, what you give up. And a very critical and delicate issue in the Middle East, any Israel and America issue. That's when that is Israel for you, no majai.
Okay.
Say Lebanon, was say the only place I want to say, Oklahoma the leader. And we die. Now the same thing was started in Syria or destroyed, and only doesn't come into the world of news and world picture. But every day, or yes, serious bombardment over Israel, over Syria. What for? Syria is also a serious producer of oil. And they all do that also for instance, a business. And they all do that for political sake. Bibi Netanyahu's future. Because he's not prepared to leave Israel. Because so Bibi Netanyahu free Israel as a prime minister. He has a lot of issues and a lot of cases, and you might be very, very, very also tried somewhere. And only some of the things Sophie said. Then we move in, we march on, and let's do. And whereas the world concentration in our Bibi Netanyahu in Israel, is also taking advantage of staying in power for long. There's politics.
Also, finally, Hansan or Beja, Yen Sudian, you bet me, I know, Hasi, said a bear, what the camera, the effect of it me the about oil seminia dinner, Diana, who says, Abri, the finance minister, ne, economic managers, then the said a bear, yen young, as okay say.
Papa, we call it obey the wind. Yeah, they are no better. But the reality is you're too world market, world oil prices. There's nothing that you can do. Yeah. Politics, you can instruct your managers, your ministers of the economy, managers of the economy. And then we'll be to my say oil, I got $1 barrel, now $150, say BBL do dana. Who did then have it to stop on? It is also economic shock, sir. It has to come with a certain practices. Their practice in is saying we don't create wealth. The country Ghana has never, and we do not create wealth. It's wealth of income. Wealth of income, gold, and now dear, and then you try to gold, you bring your gold, now dear, 10% of your gold, and look about how you can account for it. It is high time since the government of Ghana should not rely on the economies of other parts of the world because you will be paying. The China, Wuhan, and the COVID bio, no country no the COVID bio, they've never seen wealth bigger than the time that the whole world economy crashed. Look at post-COVID. China is stronger economically more than it was before. Countries be sika under the COVID, whereas other countries have crashed down. Sorry. So we are saying that, yes, the talk is there, Mr. President Bingo, thank you. But what are we doing? Now there is a new government, there is a new wave, there is a new spirit, there is no new decision. And then you moisturize our economy and economic system. Say, agree na ye dia to ye ni atu only one thing that is cocoa. Cocoa no class say ni dia. And then them the bit me export. And they say oh eniyama wo de ko and I would more wealth with the income over. You don't care about the Israeli-Arab war. You don't care about Russia-Ukraine war. Sebi Nanado, Ekokan UN General Assembly said, any bomb that hit on target on Ukrainian soil affects the pocket of an ordinary Ghanaian. I was so ashamed. And it was so distasteful. Say, president of an African country, who are war resources, who will be here, who will be now, Koka, say, we now they share for applause. And I am more in some, but unfortunately, that statement, no world government, because they were all sitting there looking at him, because he was playing the pro-Ukrainian cards. It never worked because they themselves, the Europeans, the Germans, the Swiss, the Hollands, Belgium, any Hungary, Czech Republic, in the war, in the middle of the war, me a member of NATO, still Russia oil. Man is sanctions, but they buy Russia's oil. In the South of Ghana, now say any bomb that hit on target in Iranian soil affected the oil of Ghanaian pocket. Because you are being lazy as a government, and I don't expect. Say this government, His Excellency President Mama, also be toned it down. I'm here say Iran-Israeli war, and I'm a Ghana. We don't want to hear that. Israel is not Ghana, neither Iran is Ghana. And Israel doesn't have any direct or any developing partner. The be bilateral sometimes, and I say was some few grants bia or mudimani new Omunya country Ghana, neither in Iran or Ghana will be BMO. And the so look, how does it affect you? Affects you are talking about oil, but indirectly we are not talking about the oil. We should say oil no and a price never hypo in the affecting. Is that how we have to always rule, manage and administer economy? The answer is no. We don't want any kind of excuses from any of our leaders, and for that matter, current president. Now do you see COVID? I'm a Ghana COVID. They didn't do anything. To some extent, it's the same thing that the government should not also find excuse. Because I said, let Akufo-Addo, it's not COVID. If it is not COVID, then it's not Israel-Palestine war, Israel-Syria war, Israel-Lebanon war, not Israel-Iranian war. We should be able to find a case to moisturize our economy.
But President John Dramani Mahama can say the question no be affect you, so or no so admit says war na question no be may shock e wa ha say.
It should not affect us in any way if you have a problem because Belgium Mecca say Israeli war be affected. Omukra Israel very close. Germany Mecca say Israeli Iran war be affected. Holland Mecca say Israeli war be affected. What about the countries in the region? Egypt is also say. What about the countries that airspace bimu across? Jordan is caught in the middle between Jordan and then Iran and Israel. They are right in the middle. They are flying drones all over their overhead. What is that Jordan? America says Israeli Iran war ever affecting them. And look at our distance. We're talking about more than 5,000 miles away. And then we do not. Okay. Me, I don't subscribe that one as an excuse for any leader in our country because Israel and Palestine, Israel and Iran, but Ghana body I say.
Angel.
I affect your body. I affect your tomatoes, mangoes are affecting. And then affecting, we can only talk about one thing, oil. Israel on top Ghana, your friend is saying, on top ya cocoa. Yanton cocoa ma Israel. On okoto cocoa at the end of the world market. Yanton cocoa emma Iran. And yanton gold emma Israel as a country. And yanton gold emma Iran as a country. And yanton bauxite and diamond emma these countries. Yanton ye timber ma these two countries. Omnya commercial trading partners. And you say your home back and that's a very affecting. You're only talking in the global sense. Okay, oil prices go up. Oil prices go up. It has to do with also Nyama also they call Usubenyeska now subsidize our country not transfer. And yeah, woman can affected the whole world. Prices in the affected, but countries are living comfortably. Switzerland on the cano.
Okay, Alaji, ma ya no ase papa.